What I'm about to show you may shock you. Probably one of the best games that I've ever played in my life. Chess.com analysis gives it around 90% accuracy. And I've had games with a higher accuracy, but I think on a human level, it's probably definitely up there. I played the Boiling Frog, which also known as the Mason attack. Well, it starts with the Mason attack, but from here you play bishop d3. You can also play c3, but just a different move order, castles. And then here we have the Boiling Frog. From this position, all of the theory is Boiling Frog theory. I tried to play the most suffocating, slow, solid moves possible, and I feel like I had one of the best games of my life, and I'm about to show you why. From this point, black plays knight d2, and I put the knight in the center. This is very, very common in the Boiling Frog. He takes, I take, this opens up my rook, and he puts his queen on g5. This is a slight inaccuracy, but it is not the end of the world. I respond with an inaccuracy of my own with rook f4, and from here he attempts to checkmate me with the move bishop h3. This move, queen f3, took me quite a while to find, and it is probably the most decisive point in the game. It marks the last move of the opening. We're moving into the middle game at this point. And here he makes a fatal blunder. He takes the pawn on g2 with the bishop. And from this point, I take with the queen, he takes, and I take. And now I have a huge advantage. And for the rest of the game, I will be trying to hold that advantage and move into a favorable endgame, try and encroach on his territory and win in the endgame, suffocate his position. Opponent plays bishop e2, preparing to castle. I take the knight with the bishop, he takes, and I take back with the rook. From here he castles queenside, which I didn't expect in the game, but it is the best move. And after that I play rook g4, threatening the pawn. He pushes it to protect, but this is not the best move, because from there I can play knight d2, and then he can push the pawn to f5, threatening my rook, but then I just play rook f4, he threatens with the bishop, I slide back, and then from there he supports the pawn with the rook on f8, and then I reroute the knight via rook f1, he moves the bishop back. I try to defend my pawns and give the rook an open path to enter the game, because I thought that it was quite trapped in the corner of the board there. And then he pushes his pawn. From here I push my pawn, and he doesn't take, he pushes his, and I push the rook back up to f4. Now it cannot be threatened by any pawns, and it's quite safe. And then from there he pushes his h-pawn to the 5th rank. Now this attack visually looks crushing for black. He has 4 pawns right in front of my king. They're all on light squares, and the dark squared bishop is right behind them, ready to jump in and checkmate the king. He has the 2 rooks on f8 and h8 right behind the pawns, and it looks terrifying. But the engine gives plus 6.48 for white. This is because black's structure is quite weak, and white actually has a very, very solid structure if played right, and I played it right. Anyway, from this point, I take, he pushes, and I block the bishop out with the move f6. From here, he checks my king with the move h3. I push it up and try to use his pawns as a little bit of a shield. He moves the bishop back, I take with the rook, and he puts his rook on g8. Now from here I put the bishop on g5. This protects my f6 pawn and stops him from being able to take my rook I want to try and keep my pieces. I don't want to trade just yet, even though I have a pretty huge structural lead. I would like to keep as many pieces on the board as possible. From here he puts his rook on g5. I pick up the free pawn because why not? He checks me, I just move back. And just look at the structure for a second. White has this connect 5 in the middle of the board, running all the way up from the b2 square to the f6 square. And black can't really do much to dislodge this suffocating structure. From here, he tries to bring the king over via d7. I play knight e4, trying to open up a path for the rook and bring the knight into the game. He plays king e7, trying to continue his plan. And from here, I play rook f1. This is the best move. And he plays king f7, and this continues his plan once more. Here you can see why in that visually dominant position that black had, the evaluation was still so in white's favor. I mean, look at white's structure. Anyway, from this point, I play knight c4, trying to gobble up some pawns. He puts his bishop on c7. I play knight d6, attacking the king and his b7 pawn. He should probably take at this point, but anyway, he doesn't. He plays king f8, taking the king out of check. I take his pawn. He pushes his a pawn to the 6th rank. I put my knight on c5, attacking both of his pawns. He protects the e pawn with the king, moving to f7, and I take the a6 pawn with the knight. From here he puts his bishop on b6, and I play knight b4, attacking his c pawn. He pushes this pawn to c5, and I play knight to c2. From here he takes. I take with the knight instead of the pawn, because trading is very good for me right here. He takes, and I take back with the c pawn. From here he tries to threaten that pawn with his rook, moving to d4, and I play the move bishop e3, protecting that pawn and threatening his rook on g6 with my rook on g4. He decides to take, and I take back with the king. He checks me with the move rook to g8, and I play the move bishop to g5, which protects my f6 pawn and also blocks check, of course. From here, he plays the move king to g6, and I play h4, hoping to push the pawn up the board and attack the rook with both the f and h pawns, hopefully creating a queen. He moves the king back, realizing that a check is coming, and I move the rook to c1. The opponent resigns in this position. It's going to be mate in a couple moves, and black has very few options. The game is essentially over. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked that game. I was very proud of it.